Welcome to my channel, where we discuss everything and all things politics, especially about the 2023 presidential election that was held in Nigeria on February 25, 2023, and the result controversially announced on March 1st, 2023. And that controversial result that produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president of Nigeria was challenged at the Presidential Election Petition Court, where the verdict was delivered on September 6th. And the major petitioners, Peter Obi of the Labour Party and Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party, not satisfied, headed to the Supreme Court to prove their allegation that Tinubu ought not to have been declared the winner of the 2023 presidential election, and that ab initio he is not even qualified to participate in the election. In the case of Atiku, citing the forgery allegation against Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The forgery allegation had to do with the Chicago State University certificate that Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission as part of his filings for the election of 2023. Atiku Abubakar believes strongly that that result was forged and that it didn't come from Chicago State University. And to prove his case, he headed to the United States, where his lawyers subpoenaed Chicago State University. And after several roadblocks that was put on their way by Bola Ahmed Tinubu and his lawyers to stop him from having access to Tinubu's records, eventually he prevailed. Atiku prevailed because Nancy Maldonado, the judge of a high court in the United States, agreed with Atiku Abubakar that it is in the public interest of Nigeria that those documents be made available to Atiku Abubakar. And one of the revelations from these documents, when they were finally released, was that Tinubu allegedly forged his certificate. Why did I say so? Because in the deposition that is swearing under oath, the secretary, the registrar of Chicago State University, Caleb Westberg, deposited that he didn't know where Tinubu got the certificate that he submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission. And that is a classic case of forgery. When an organization that purportedly issued a certificate say they didn't issue it, that is a classic definition of forgery. Now, one of the key ministers of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Festus Keyamo, a lawyer, the senior advocate of Nigeria, he is the Minister of Aviation. He has recently, using his Twitter handle, formerly known as the Twitter handle, now known as X, where he was literally mocking Atiku Abubakar that he cannot be able to prove the forgery without identifying the vendor who issued Tinubu the certificate, that only that vendor can now declare whether the certificate was forged or not, and not Chicago State University, which is really strange. Because in the classic understanding of vendor system in America, no vendor operates independently. The vendor must get the authorization of the university before issuing the certificate. It's not the vendor that issue the certificate. It is the university that issue the certificate. The vendors are there like middlemen. A former student wants a replacement certificate. He approaches a vendor. Now the vendor gather information, fill the necessary, provide a platform for the student, ex-student, to fill his academic records and driver's license, whatever identification that is needed. And then this vendor that acts like middleman will now send the details to the Chicago State University, or any university for that matter. And then that university will in turn, after verifying that student, finding out that he was genuinely a student and all that, will produce the person's certificate based on the records available to them. And when they produce that certificate, they send it to the third party, that's the vendor, who will now transfer it to the student. Now that is the classic way it operates. But anything outside this is forgery, which we are going to see how the Chicago State University Registrar described those who operate online purporting to represent several universities, but they are basically forgery syndicates that are ready to provide any forged certificate to anybody who so desired. Now, Festus Keyamo is saying that Atiku Abubakar is only making noise, and the people are those who are supporting him are only making noise until they could be able to produce the vendor. He said until they could be able to produce the vendor. He berated those comparing the president's certificates, President Tinubu's certificates saga, to the case of former President Muhammad Buhari. He said, applying this principle to the case of Atiku Abubakar versus Chicago State University, so long as the university openly said they do not issue replacement certificate, but that vendors do so on their behalf, all those noise about so-called forgery were useless until the particular vendor that issued the replacement certificate to official Bola Ahmed Tinubu denies its authenticity. So what I saying that Atiku Abubakar should find the vendor that issued the certificate to Tinubu, and that vendor will be the one to deny that the certificate with INEC is not authentic. Can you imagine that? That it is a vendor and not the university that is the authority to determine whether their certificate is fake or real. And he went on to say that it is the duty of the accuser to fish out the said vendor and get that evidence. It is not the other way around. He who alleges must prove. This is the simple principle I laid down in 2019 during our defense of President Buhari that has been mischievously celebrated as if they have hit the bullseye. Now he is now saying that the onus is on Atiku Abubakar to fish out the vendor, not what the university registrar deposited at the court in Chicago before the lawyers of both parties, indeed before the world, because the world is aware of all this. Now, why should Keyamo be so audacious in mocking Atiku and saying that he should go and find the vendor? It's likely that the vendor does not even exist. It is likely there was no vendor. Now, if there were no vendor, it means that the document was an online forgery, in which case you want Atiku to be chasing shadows to go and produce the vendor. Now, it is also instructive to note that in the course of the deposition, you can go and check out the deposition. The Chicago State University Registrar, Caleb Westberg, after denying issuing Bola Ahmed Tinubu the replacement certificate he submitted to the Independent National Electoral Commission, was asked how he thought that Tinubu could have gotten the certificate, since now you said the certificate didn't come from you. The replacement certificate didn't come from you. And the man also emphasized that Tinubu never filled any replacement form to their knowledge. Because if you go to their websites right now, you will see where you can fill for replacement form. He said there's no record that Tinubu ever filled replacement form to their knowledge. Now, so then he was asked, so where do you think that Tinubu got the data, the certificate then that he submitted to INEC? He said that he don't know, but there are several bogus online companies that are giving people fake certificates And they now ask him, do you know any of those companies that does that? He said, he don't know. He don't know. Caleb Westbrook said he don't know. He said, but a search at the Google, he said a simple search as Google will reveal several of such companies that specialize in giving fake certificates to those who ask for it. Now, that his revelation also is in line with what investigative journalist David Hundiye had done in several reports he had made about this matter. David Hundiye, in a report that you can go and check out in his West African magazine, or you can go and check out on his YouTube channel, has done a report where he listed a source where he believed that Tinubu might have gotten the certificate from. And he said it's an online platform that sells fake certificate. And he claimed that the wordings of the certificate that Tinubu submitted to INEC is similar to the sample of Chicago State University fake certificate that is on this particular website. So based on that and what this Caleb has said, it is therefore obvious that Tinubu might have gotten his certificate not from any recognized vendor, and might have gotten it from fake certificate issuing companies online, as David Hundiye alleged and as suggested, as alluded to by Chicago State University registrar. Now, if that is the case, it then means that Keyamo mocking Atiku Abubakar is because he was so sure that Atiku can't be able to provide any vendor. Because if a vendor does not exist, there was no vendor that exists. Where will Atiku go and get the vendor that supposedly gave Tinubu the certificate? But then, it now begs the question, is it the vendor that is in a better position to verify a certificate of a university, or the university itself that's supposed to be able to verify a certificate and confirm whether it is fake or not? Already I have given you a classic example that no university, Harvard, everywhere in America, gives certificate where vendors unilaterally issue certificate. The student in question who is looking for a replacement certificate will approach the vendor, and the vendor will now approach the university. So the vendor is like a middleman. So it is not on the duty of the vendor to verify a certificate. It is the duty of the issuing authority, because the emblem and everything about the certificate is about the university. It's not about the vendor. Nobody cares about the vendor. So by that kind of a position by Keyamo, it means that Keyamo is invariably confirming that Atiku cannot find something that does not exist. Apparently, no vendor issued the certificate to him. And if there is a vendor, they should name the vendor. In fact, one of the things that Atiku ought to be asking now is for Tinubu and those who are claiming that it was a vendor that gave him the certificate. They should name the vendor. Because the vendor themselves are not living in mass. They have digital trail. If they exist, everybody will go and check out the vendor to find out their name and ask them questions. They will have their records. But my hunch is telling me that this Keyamo is right, that they may not be able to find any vendor. Atiku can't be able to find any vendor because no vendor issued that certificate. But what can be found out is to find out which platform online particularly gave that certificate. But that would be a very tedious job to go and be looking for, which will not be helpful to Atiku Abubakar. How do you find out? Because already David Hundin listed the name of the platform online. It just escaped my memory now. I used to have it off head, where you can just go, you check this Tinubu's replica of certificate. In that I've checked it out before. You see it there. By David Hundin had done a lot of work on that. That you can easily cross-check. But that cannot stand because it is not an official vendor. They are known as suppliers of fake certificates. So they are not, I think you can't prove anything from them. However, Festus Keyamo may be a senior advocate of Nigeria, but he doesn't have the final say on this matter. Because as he's claiming that it is he who alleges must prove, and he is certain that Atiku would go and bring the vendor, knowing that perhaps no vendor exists that Atiku can produce. So he felt that his case is dead on arrival. But how do we know a fake result or fake certificate? Fake certificate doesn't mean that you go and find the verification from a third source, a third party. It is the first party, the issuing authority, that can actually determine whether a result, whether a certificate is fake or not, and not any third party. Okay? It is not any third party. Because third party is just like a middleman. He cannot be held responsible, can't be held responsible for the actions of the first party. That is the issuing authority. Now, to show that Festus Keyamo was wrong in claiming that it is the vendor that Atiku must produce to deny the certificate with INEC, he is wrong on that, because look at what the Supreme Court said. I keep on citing this because it's important to this matter until the matter is settled. The Supreme Court, in the case of Agi and PDP, the Supreme Court defined forgery as bringing or presenting or attaching or submitting a document not made by the agency which is purported to have such a document. Now, the agency here is the university. The definition here is talking about the agency, which means, in this case, the university that purported to have issued a certificate to Tinubu. That is what you can use to authenticate a certificate. Once that university, that issuing authority, say they don't know anything about your certificate or the certificate, that means the certificate so presented is forgery. The Supreme Court definition has solved the whole problem. So whatever Festus Keyamo is talking about going to get verification from vendor by Atiku Abubakar, he's the one wasting his time. If the Supreme Court is really serious about this matter and they want to stick by the law which they claim that they are going to stick on and not public opinion, they should remember the case, their definition of forgery in the case of Agi versus PDP, which I repeat here, the Supreme Court had defined forgery as bringing or presenting or attaching or submitting a document not made by the agency which is purported to have such a document. That is the classic definition of forgery. The other day, I heard Babajide Otitoju of TVC saying that for you to prove that, lawyers have told him that for you to prove evidence of forgery, you must show alteration in that certificate, you must bring the original and then show that it was altered. That is not what the Supreme Court is saying. What the Supreme Court is saying, in line with our electoral process, that if you present a certificate which was purported to have been authorized by an agency which denied not to have issued that certificate, that is a classic case of forgery. You don't have to go and bring that, show that it was there was alteration, because Babajide Otitoju and Festus Keyamo, those are the kind of things they are banking on. That you must show evidence that Tinubu altered his certificate. Here, Supreme Court is talking about anyone who present. What Tinubu did was to present a certificate that Chicago State University has denied. That is enough. That is the law. It didn't say anything about alteration. It is to present what does not exist, what did not come from an agency you claim gave it to you. And Caleb Westberg was emphatic. It was written in simple English that any man on the street can understand. He said, we don't know where he got the certificate he submitted to INEC. And when pressed further, where he thought that Tinubu could have gotten it, he said he could have gotten it from online companies that specialize in producing fake results. That is what the deposition said. He said he might have gotten it from there. He wasn't categorical where he got it, but he suggested where, because he was put on the spot when they asked him, where do you think he has gotten it? And David Houdin has also given us a hint of where he could have gotten it. So it is the Chicago State University that has the final say. And if the Supreme Court ruling between on Agi and PDP, and their definition of forgery is anything to go by, they will agree with Westberg, Caleb Westberg, that his deposition is what they are going to work on. And if they work on his deposition, then Atiku is home and dry in terms of proving his evidence. And then the Supreme Court will have to do the needful by invoking Section 134, 1J of the 1999 Constitution, which states that a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of the president if he has presented a forged certificate to the Independent National Electoral Commission. You can see that this constitution was clear. He didn't say who altered a certificate. He said who presented a forged certificate. He didn't say altered a forged certificate. And if you look at the Supreme Court definition, you find you can be able to make up your mind who to believe, whether it is Festus Keyamo or whether it is the Supreme Court. Thank you for watching this video. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, Google will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you and God bless you and yours.